Ranked 2.0 is only a few days out, with OB56 hitting us on Wednesday. Time to prepare is quickly running out, so I wanted to give you guys a few basic but very important tips going into Ranked 2.0. So first, I want to talk about characters. There are several different characters in Paladins across all 4 roles, and knowing how to play multiple of them is a must. In Paladins, you cannot be a one-trick. It is basically impossible. The drafting system heavily punishes players who can only play a few characters, let alone one. The character you may want to play could easily get banned, picked by the enemy team, or picked by a teammate that doesn't want to trade with you. If you want to succeed, you have to be versatile. The more versatile you are, the higher your chances of winning. So be sure you know how to play different characters from every role going into Ranked 2.0. Knowing 2 from every role is a pretty safe place to start. For damage, know how to play a direct damage like Victor, Tyra, Leanne, Cassie, or Shaolin. Left out Kinessa there on purpose. She's only really good in very specific instances. It's better to have a more well-rounded pick if you only know how to play 2. And know how to play a blast like Willow, Drogos, or Bomb King. For frontline, know how to play a main tank like Makoa, Fernando, Ashe, or Barrack, and an off tank like Inara, Ruckus, or Torvald. People may disagree with which one of those are main or off tanks, but that's just how I look at them. For support, know how to play a main healer like Ying, Saris, or Maldamba, and an off healer like Pip, Grok, Grover, or Genos. For flank, know how to play 2 with vertical mobility. Andro, Eevee, Buck, and Maeve all have vertical mobility, which automatically makes them better than the ones without it in most cases. Well, maybe not Maeve. Also, when I say know how to play them, I don't really mean you play the character once, learn what their abilities are, and bam, you're done. No, it takes at least a couple games of playing a character to really get the fundamentals of playing them down, even when it comes to some of the simplest characters like Victor, Willow, or Ying, for example. I'm not saying you have to know the characters inside and out, no, but having a few games of experience is definitely a good start. You also need to be willing to be flexible with these characters. There's no real point in knowing how to play several characters if you aren't willing to play them in the first place. When you load into that character select screen, you and your team have to build a good team comp that matches well against the enemies. So keep your lobby chat open and communicate with your team about what you guys want and what's best. Don't be that person that says, I can't play tank or I can't play healer when your team needs one of those roles. The thing about people who say they can and they can't is that they're both normally right, so keep that in mind. You can't just put your team at a disadvantage because you rather play something else, not if you want to win and get those competitive exclusive rewards. For those of you that frequently watch my videos, you've probably heard me mention a few times how I don't really like tanks all that much. Well, in preparation for Ranked 2.0, I've tossed that out of the window entirely because tank is the most important and impactful role in Paladins right now. I've gone out of my way to learn every tank in the game and make sure I'm practiced with each of them as well, even my once least favorite character, Ruckus. Before I started practicing tanks for Ranked 2.0, I had 5 games played on Ruckus since OB35. All 5 were losses. I hated him because I always got melted with him, because I didn't know how to play him and all. However, I've made progress in turning that around, and now I'm confident I got the fundamentals down, and I'm willing to play him if my team requires it, even if I may be more well-versed in damage characters like Drogos, Leanne, and Willow. So if I, a damage main who has a crippling fear of letting other people play damage because of all the 20k damage Bomb Kings and Drogoses I've gotten on my team, can do it, then so can you. This is a team game after all, so work as a team to get the best overall team comp possible, because it is very possible to lose the game right at the character select screen, so avoid doing that. Remember that working as a team doesn't end at the character select screen. That's where it starts. It of course continues into the actual game. One of the best ways to work as a team is through voice chat. You remember how everyone was begging Hi-Rez to add it, then they did and no one used it? While that's fine in casuals, in competitive, voice chat is a huge asset. If your team has it and the other team doesn't, then your team is at a huge advantage. Typing things out isn't really practical, and yes, there is the VGS to tell your team things like the enemy is behind them, but it isn't all that specific. You can use it to make your character say, "Enemies behind us," but that's more distracting than helpful. It doesn't get the correct information to your teammates. They could look behind them and still not know where the enemy is or who the enemy is. With voice, you can just say, "Leon, behind us on balcony," and your team knows exactly where to look. Voice also lets you guys quickly discuss strategy and quickly get across helpful reminders like "don't stagger" or "teammates are down, fall back." If an enemy is weak, you can call out "Cassie weak behind Anara," and your team can look that way, give her a little tap, and then push up. So if you own a mic, use it. If you don't, then at least make sure you're able to hear your team. Also, it's best to have the mics on push to talk, keeps audio clutter from distracting the team. Also, don't be afraid of being the first one to speak up and get everyone talking. In my experience with Overwatch, normally everyone is waiting for that icebreaker before they say anything. I want to talk about item choice as well. In a lot of games, I see people picking things from the defensive category or the healing category right out of the gate. While there are some very useful items in those categories, you really want to focus on getting Cauterize and Wrecker up to tier 3 as quickly as possible. Those two items are the best and most impactful in the game, and whoever has more of them first has the advantage. There are some exceptions to this rule. Certain characters, like some supports like Genos or Maldamba, can get Chronos first to allow them to heal or Void Grip more often, while their teammates focus on Wrecker or Cauterize. But outside of that, those two items will most likely always be your top priority. Breaking the enemy's barriers faster than they can break yours lets your team start getting damage on them sooner, and effectively neutralizing healing on targets basically guarantees the kill. Don't ignore the advantages that Wrecker or Cauterize brings you. They alone can sway games. Now my last tip to you all, ban or pick Fernando. I'm serious. Right now Fernando is arguably the best character in the game. He's pretty overpowered and can just run an entire game. Banning him outright removes the possibility of the enemy team getting him and raining fire down on your team. If he doesn't get banned and your team is able to pick him, absolutely go for it. It'll give your team a big advantage. Don't be afraid to first pick him. At high levels of play, tanks are often first picks and bans anyway, and that's for good reason. I know it might be super tempting to ban that pesky damage dealer like Drogos or Leanne. I know those are two big ones, but those characters won't be too big of a problem as long as you choose the right times to deal with them and keep them from doing whatever they want. With Fernando, he will force you to deal with him on his terms and give you a hell of a hard time while doing it. And if his healer is good, he'll get out alive. Until Hi-Rez brings Fernando down into a more balanced state, you have to accept that he is either an invaluable asset to your team or a devastating liability to it. Now, there will of course be some instances where banning something else might be more beneficial, like banning Kinessa on Timbermill because she can have so much free reign there, but for the most part, Fernando is who you're often going to want gone. So those are my tips for going into Ranked 2.0. I tried to keep it simple and more general. I didn't want to go into too much specific details and make the video too overwhelming. I feel like it would be better to spread things out into separate videos so I can talk about specific things in more detail there. I want to make videos on stuff like team composition, drafting, how to play certain roles or certain characters. I just have to be really careful about what I pick to make videos on, because since Paladins gets updated so frequently, it is very possible for certain videos to become out of date very quickly, and I don't want people to get the wrong info. Certain characters in this game have had their playstyles get turned around like 3 times, so you know. What would you guys like to see? I'm very motivated and eager to crank out videos with Ranked 2.0 finally coming. And that's pretty much it, guys. I want to thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I'm going to see you guys later. Bye!